I think I can put all of this aside, and this is where my pessimism I think kind of leaks in a little bit, and I just have a hard time getting over this. I think I can actually go for a good team with a very good starting rotation and some veteran players knocking on the door, falling short, and breaking it down. Like if I just look at that storyline, I believe that that's possible. And I don't think that you have to just make change for the sake of change. But the one thing I can't get over, and we just went through the outfield, and I'm not in love with that alignment and the way that they're banking on so many ifs. But on top of that, the idea that Alec Bohm is coming back and going to hit in a prominent spot in this order as a primary right-handed bat to protect Kyle Schwarber or Bryce Harper, I struggle with that.
Yeah.
I struggle with that. And there is part of me that is like, there is a pedigree there. He's a top 3 pick. He's got the body type. We've seen spurts where he's lived in the gaps. He's been a doubles machine. Maybe we get the best of Alec Bohm this season. And if we do, is that suitable? Yeah, like first half of 2024 Alec Bohm played out over 162. That would work. I just don't expect it. And to kind of piggyback off of something you said earlier in the show, I don't think they expect it, because I think that each of the last 2 off seasons, they have looked very hard at moving on from him and trying to find a different solution at third base. Again, the Bichette thing, like if they were happy with what they had in him and they were confident what they had with him, they wouldn't have explored those other avenues. So I just can't get into it. I know that February 10th isn't October 3rd, but if I got to have more than that. You have to give me more than that. And I don't think it's Garcia either.
No, I'm in agreement with you. Before I respond to you, I just want to apologize to the listeners to this point. I accidentally had the wrong microphone selected. So now I'm actually speaking into the right mic. I've had it in front of my face, but it was just for picture purposes only.
There you go. Oh, you look good.
I selected the right microphone. Thanks to our good friend Russ Joy for pointing that out. But anyway, no. So yeah, you're right. Alec Bohm is not the cleanup hitter option. Just isn't. And I know the cleanup hitter is devalued since we've had a permanent DH, right? Like that changes the dynamic. That's why most teams bat their best players first and second or whatever. Like you're batting at the top of the lineup as opposed to 3-4, you're batting 1-2 usually, or 2-3. It just kind of changes it. But that doesn't mean that it's an unimportant spot in the lineup. It should still be your 4th best hitter, in your lineup is hitting cleanup, and usually a guy with a little bit of pop. And Alec Bohm certainly does not fit that mold. And it begs the question, like, what do you do with the lineup? Like, do you take Schwarber out of potentially batting every first inning just to bat him cleanup so that you have a more extended lineup? I don't think that's the right thing to do. But they might be forced to do that.
I expect them to start the season with Kyle Schwarber out of the leadoff spot. Do I think he finds his way back into it at some point? Probably. But they've tried. I feel like that their inclination, like they've wanted to get him out of the leadoff spot the last couple of years, and then they're forced to go back to it. And
maybe. I mean, Turner hit really well out of the leadoff spot last year. So I think that Turner's probably going to stay there. Yeah. I don't know if Schwarber stays at 2 where he had his, MVP runner-up season last year. Like, I don't think he stays there. I think Harper goes to 2. But then you got Schwarber. It's either.
You think they're going to hit Harper too?
I think so. Okay. I think they're going to flip Harper and Schwarber. And I mean, technically you could slide Schwarber to 4 and slot somebody else in at 3, but then are you really protecting Harper? Or maybe you slide somebody else in at 2, but then you're going righty, lefty. You're really giving bullpen matchups to the opposing team. Like, I don't see it. And that was kind of the question that Mr. Spooky Man's asking. He said, could batting Bohm second help balance the lineup? Or should they bat Harper 1 and Schwarber 2 like the Dodgers do with Ohtani and Betts? Yeah, but Harper won't lead off, so that's part of the problem.
Right.
So, yeah, you could technically put Bohm too, but not behind Turner, because then what are you doing? You
Right.
got two guys who are not high on base guys batting first and second in your lineup. You just can't do that. So the problem is you have a cleanup hitter type on your team. You just don't have somebody to bat in the top three to move him down.
Right.
And that's the problem.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, Bohm is still a problem. I mean, it's an issue. For 2 years they've tried to move on from him, Bob.
And I get that people look at him and they're like, well, it's gotten better defensively. He's not, a disaster at third base. The contact profile, you look at some of the years where he's hit into the gaps and like, it's not that he's a bad player. It's this, that what they need isn't what he brings.
Right.
And I think he'd be much better suited somewhere else.
So the one thing that we haven't even brought up yet, and I think is looming, and I noticed it yesterday, was the first time that either of them talked about it in this vein. But you heard Rob Thompson, when he was talking about his excitement, mention Aiden Miller. And a lot of the prospect rankings have come out by now for Around Baseball. And the one thing that I've noticed, they're all different. Everybody's different. But of the four big ones that get put out there, they're all kind of in agreement that Aiden Miller is now one of the top prospects in baseball. He was as high as number 6 in Keith Law's rankings for The Athletic. Most places had him around between 10 and 15 kind of range, right? Everyone thinks he's coming this year in some capacity.
Who was it that predicted him to be Rookie of the Year? Was it Eric Karabell?
Yeah. So then Rob mentions him yesterday. It was the first time that anybody mentioned him as from the organization as a potential part of this coming season. Again, it's a lot to put on a young player. Where does he slot, though? How does that work? Who does he replace if he comes in? Let's say everybody keeps saying July, but let's say it's sooner than that. Let's say he gets off to a great start at Lehigh Valley and he's pushing and shows that he belongs. How do you rejigger that infield? What does it look like? I think it could be not to say that, and I don't know where he fits into a lineup either.
So
right?
That's the thing. Like you talk about expectations and putting a lot on a kid. Like, okay, let's just say he's the 6th best prospect in baseball. He comes up and, hey, you're going to be the everyday third baseman now. Also, we need you to hit in the top half of the lineup because what we have isn't panning out. Like, talk about putting pressure on a kid.
Yeah, no, I agree.
That's a big ask.
Yeah.
So I'm all in on Aiden Miller. Like, I think like everyone else, like I love Aiden Miller and I expect him to come up and be a really good, he might be the best position prospect to come through this organization in the last 30 years. Like, I think that's on the table for him.
Yeah.
But in this season, with these expectations and these possible deficiencies and what he's going to be asked to rectify, whew.
And I know. It's a lot. It's a lot to ask.
Where do you think? So the two obvious solutions here is that he comes and plays second base, or he comes and plays third base. I think third base is the more likely of the two. Would you agree with that?
Could it be possible? Because one of I can't shake the thing where Keith Law wrote, he gets called up and becomes immediately the best option for shortstop on that team.
Do you think?
And I just myself like, how do you say that knowing Trey Turner is there, except if you have some kind of inkling that maybe they would move Turner to second, play Miller at short, and then you have a choice between Bohm and Stott for third?
I think that if Miller played shortstop, that makes them better. I think it makes the Phillies better. I think you could also make the argument, I know that he's not going to do it, especially after his defense jumped from substandard to what was he, like plus 11 defensive runs saved last year at shortstop.
Yeah.
Like, Trey Turner's not going to the outfield, but given what that outfield could look like 2 months into the season, say like, man, this would solve a problem, would it not? So I don't see it. I just don't know that you've heard it before. Trey Turner said, I came here to be the shortstop. The Phillies said we signed him to be the shortstop. Would they really boot out Trey Turner after a pretty good 2025? Let's say that he just continues that into 26. The defense looks a lot better. He's making things happen at the top of the lineup. Would they really move him at that point? It just doesn't feel like something that they would do, but you could certainly make the argument that it would create added flexibility and potentially patch some of their deficiencies.
Yeah. No,
the kid also has to come out and do it. Like, he's got to come out this spring, have a good spring, keep the momentum rolling wherever he starts the season, keep the thing rolling. Things still have to happen here, but it feels like he's right on the doorstep.